Today we're looking at an EVGA NVIDIA GTX 780 card, superclocked, a 3 gigabyte, which is unfortunate. But as you've seen in the videos, my first card was a 1060. I then tried a 1650 and a 1650 Super. I finally settled on a 1060 for my permanent card for now, until I find something better. But I've never seen a 780 before, so let's take a look. I bought this from a neighbor who upgraded to a 1080, and that's gross. It's completely blocked. Yuck. Okay, well, we'll have to clean that up. But this is a 780, not a 780 Ti, which I guess would be somewhat good. But I'm still going to do a comparison with this and the 1060. I wonder how close it would be. Probably pretty close, except for the fact that it has 3 gigs. But the funny thing is, this heatsink setup looks identical to the 980, 1060, 1070, 1080. It's pretty beefy. It's a very long card. And then look at the power requirement. Jeez. 2, an 8-pin and a 6-pin. So it probably pulls a lot of power. Anyway, let's clean this up. We'll put it side by side with the 1060 SC, and then we'll do a few benchmarks and see how it does. And here it is, the GTX 780, all nice and clean. Took apart everything, the heatsink, the fans, even cleaned the fans. And I just wanted to go over the design of it very fast and the results, and we'll compare it to the closest thing that I have to it, which is the GTX 1060 SSC, and this is the 780 SC. Now, when I went to pick up this card, like I said, I've never seen a 7 series card before. I have only seen 1060 and then the 970, and so I didn't think it was much, but I forgot to notice the 80 series is usually the upper end of the lineup. So if this was a 760 or something like that, it wouldn't be as good as the 780. So anyway, as far as the results of cleaning, the idle temperature went down by 10 degrees. This card under Furmark benchmark was hitting almost 90 degrees, and the fans were going crazy, about 70%. So after fixing, the results are the idle temperature is now at 33 degrees, which is great. And one thing to note about the 780, it does not have the idle stop, so the fans are always spinning, which leads to a lower idle temperature than the 1060, because this has an idle stop. So this would run at 40 normally. This will run at 33 because the fans are still kind of spinning. And then on to the results. The Furmark benchmark was 72 degrees after cleaning. I'm sorry, 72 FPS after the cleaning, which is a lot more than I thought. The 1060 usually gets about 70, high 70s out of the box. So it's very close. I was surprised. And this is a 3 gig and this is a 6 gig. But I'm not sure if the memory actually has a substantial difference on the fur mark part of it. But yeah, if you can find a 780 for cheap, it's not bad. The bad part is the power requirement. This card runs about, I would say, $80 on eBay. Pulls 120 watts total, maybe 125. These are going for around 70, 60, sometimes even $50. But this card pulls over 200 watts. In fact, I couldn't overclock it because when I tried to overclock it, the power supply would die. And this was in a system that did not have an upgraded power supply. And even though it said it was rated at 500 watts, I think that was maybe not quite the case. So very close. The performance, I'm surprised. If you can find a 780 for a good deal, I would definitely look into it. If you look at the design, it's pretty similar. All this heat sinkness, and then look at the 1060. Very, very similar. So now if you were to compare this 780 to a standard 1060, it would be even a closer gap. But since this is the SSC, which is the second or third best 1060 available, there's a bigger gap here. Which one would you want? I don't know. I think that I'm just gonna stick with my 1060, but definitely if you could find this for like $50, that would be awesome, because it's gonna perform pretty close to the 1060, and then you have more money in your wallet. And then just to compare, this is the 970 heatsink, and you can see how they use not as much quality parts on the lower end designs like a 960, 970, but on the 80 series, which is the top of the line, they're going to use the best parts. And from what I read online, this 780 is close in specification or design of the Titan X. It's just a watered down version with less memory, less CUDA cores, all that stuff, but it's the same PCB. Temperature wise was kind of hot, but not terrible. Really the worst part about this is the power draw. It just draws a lot of power for not creating a super huge amount of performance. Anyway, that's the GTX 780 comparison to the GTX 1060. Now let's sell this guy and go get something else, and we'll do another comparison. See ya.